cool. Yeah, my name's Laddie. I'm creative director at Marbek. Been working here for 2.5 years now. Started off the brand just myself, and after a few months we developed a team. Vinji, he's an amazing designer. Mike, he's a brand coordinator, and then we have a set of freelancers we work with, a few photographers, stylists, makeup artists, and yeah, that's the team in terms of making sure Marbek is what it is. It's a contemporary streetwear brand, so it's like in its own lane. It's sort of a new wave of brands coming out in that lane. So it's like bridging the gap between high fashion and streetwear. We get a lot of inspiration from like music, hip hop, art, and we kind of fuse that into fashion. So a lot of our pieces are like your everyday pieces, like your bomber jackets, hoodies, tees, joggers, but we give things a spin. So we put a spin on your sort of classic pieces, and that's what makes Marbek what it is. So it's like an amalgamation of a lot of things. It's all about the fusion. We do a lot of juxtapositioning, so it's high fashion mixed with streetwear. So we get a lot of love from people all over. Like the same way we have older ladies wearing it, we have like younger men wearing it. So we do really want to appeal to everybody. So that's why it's such a fusion of so many different. Yeah, I'm Nigerian. What's it called? Yeah, I went uni for 3 years. I studied law actually, but while I was in uni, I used to run a blog. It's called Trap Luxury. And when I finished uni, I had a meeting with Walter. He's like the project manager, about the sort of visions I had for a brand. Because while I was obviously in uni, everyone's in uni doing whatever to get the qualifications, but you have your passion. So fashion was always like a first passion really as a consumer. So when you buy a lot of something, you begin to understand it, you begin to understand what people like, what makes it attractive. You begin to see people's feedback constantly, then you start to think, well, if you're spending so much money on something, why can't you kind of use that knowledge you're gaining? Because when you sort of spend money in something, you start to see a lot of patterns, and then you just want to use that knowledge to do something for yourself and people around you almost. That's how I kind of got into it as a consumer, I'd say. Yeah. We'll get it. So I used to always go for like, I would say quite expensive things, even if it meant like next week was gonna be a hard week or like a hard month. Like if I wanted something, I would get it. So I think that is why I was interested in a lot of high fashion brands like Rick Owens, Dame Doma, and the Milamista. Not necessarily the majorly known ones, but when you start to shop a bit, you start to see you don't really have to go for like, let's say Gucci or Louis Vuitton things. There's a lot of brands. There's so many brands out there to the point where we don't need to be wearing the same clothes. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, those are the sort of brands that I kind of was inspired by. Well, Marbek stems from the word embark, which means like when you travel or to go on a journey. And the reason why we call the brand Marbek is because each collection is based on a different theme. So as you can see, the first collection was military inspired, and for the second collection, we kind of just played around on summer and London and the Arctic. So the second collection is called Arctic Summer. And what we did was we based the collection on the colors in the Arctic, like your blues, your grays, your whites, pastels, and formed the collection based on that. So it's really the color palettes that are quite strong in that collection. And the next collection that we're working on is based on survival. So it's all about like movement and traveling and the different sort of elements involved. So that from surviving to the countries to backpacks, just anything involved in traveling. So that's what Marbek is about. And obviously we use those elements to base the designs on. Even though we keep it street, that's just where we get the inspiration from for our collections. When we get an idea for a collection, we'll just kind of talk within the team, like myself and Vinji, thinking about the next collection, like where to go, because we don't really have a path that's like set in stone. Like we kind of use a lot of intuition to make our decisions. So we kind of just, yeah, whatever comes to mind, if you think it's cool and it makes sense, we always have a few options before we do anything. So even like that top you see there would have been like 3 or 4 options, and then we would decide with that. So it's always a process of elimination for us, because that way it's like, you know it's better than this, rather than when you just make a decision, you don't have anything to kind of compare it to. So that's what we do before we decide on a collection. The customers and the kind of people we want to attract are people that are like trend-setting, quite confident, sort of looking for things different, things that are new. And I think when you try to make something that's going to make someone stand out, it attracts people that want to stand out from the crowd. I'm not saying you want to look like a flamingo, but you want to feel special, you want to feel different. So that's kind of why we don't really focus too much on the basic pieces. Although like 90% of people will purchase something that's simple over what's sort of elaborate, we still want to attract people that are willing to like stand out and look maybe better than the average Joe. Yeah. Cool. Our first piece was the split DPM jacket, which is like our statement piece, probably within our last 2 collections. That's like our loudest piece. It did take a while to actually create that piece, but when we created it, we knew we had something special. So everything kind of stemmed off the back of that. Like before that piece, Marbek wasn't public before that piece, but when we made that piece, that was the first piece we kind of gave to like online magazines and stuff, and like people put it on their Instagram and like Tumblr. So it done like, I can't remember how many notes, but it did got quite a few reblogs on Tumblr before Marbek even launched and was available. And when we saw that reaction, we kind of based everything off the back of that. So I was gonna say, so everything had to fit in with that, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So you lot just kind of had like a mad idea and just ran with it?
We just ran with it. Because like I was saying, like there was a lot of other stuff we did, but we didn't get such a strong reaction because it's kind of hard to gauge what people are thinking sometimes. But when you get like a crazy reaction, then you know, all right, cool, let's go, this is us, you're confident in what you're doing. And that's how we went with it. I think with clothing as well, you maybe can't, when you first start off, you maybe can't look at it like such a business. You have to kind of create a brand identity and know what you want to stand for, know what you want to represent, what your values are. And then I'd say on the business front, the first step was obviously when we launched the website. So when we produced all the products, when you do your manufacturing and your production, that's like, all right, cool, that's a big move, because that's when the money really starts to go, if that makes sense. So I'd say that was the first business sort of move that we made, because before that, like, we had a couple of samples we had made and a very, very small team. So that was probably the first step of the actual business. When you give yourself the opportunity to make money, I think if you're not in a position to make money, I don't know, you're not really a business, you're just, it's like offering a service but people can't buy it. So yeah, I think that was the first major step in the business. So I do think you're only as good as your team. Like, I don't think you can do these kind of things by yourself, no matter how hard you try, because there's not enough hours in the day for the amount of things you need to do, and even mental space. But obviously, when you have a vision, you just kind of have to keep going until you get to the stage where you know you need to bring someone else in, and you're bringing someone else into something that they can see is going somewhere. Because it's hard to kind of bring people into things that it's literally at the bottom, so there's nothing going on. You know what I mean? Sometimes like having patience, I don't know if you can consider that as an obstacle, but it's like, I think you can't cheat time no matter what you try and do. Like, things just generally take time, and I mean years. So it's like, as long as you're making progress every day, even though you don't think you're making that much progress, I think you're just planting seeds. So you could do something today and you only start reaping the benefits in like 3 months down the line. So I think having that sort of mental strength to just have patience and keep going is what will get you through it. But that's not an obstacle, so I didn't really answer it. hard, but I think you just have to remember that if you read a lot of people, most of the successful people are probably failed the most as well. So I think it's just having a strong mind and just keep going, because if you want to get somewhere, you can't let failure put you down. So you just have to literally just keep going, trust in God, keep going, trust in yourself. That's it, because no one else here is really gonna try. Like when you have a vision, for instance, no one is necessarily gonna believe in your vision. You have to believe in your vision and keep going. Not expect other people to be like, yeah, or believe in your vision. It's all down to you. Like regardless, if you have a vision, just stick to it and just keep going. And then other people will eventually come in terms of, I think the first one is dedication. And that's like, no matter what, no matter how you feel, just always putting in a shift, whether you're working in the office or working at home, just being dedicated to whatever you do. And that's hours. Like, I'm not sure if people are familiar with like the 10,000 hour rule. That's like, you can't expect anything from anything until you've put 10,000 hours into it. And obviously, there's 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a week. 365 days in a year. I'm not sure how much that is, but I know it's going to take a lot of time before you put 10,000 hours into something. The second one I'd say is probably integrity. So that's like what you're doing when no one's looking at you. Do you know what I mean? Like, how much work are you really putting in when no one's looking at you? No one knows what you're doing. You're not putting up, there's no social media, it's just like what are you really doing? So I'll say integrity. And the third one I'd say is to kind of, I'd say patience. Yeah, I'd say patience. Just knowing that things will take time, but it will work out in the end. So that's dedication, integrity, and I think patience. Those three.